Speaker. A warm, empathetic female voice with measured intensity. Deliberate pacing with strategic pauses before impactful statements. Calm authority mixed with genuine warmth. Handles emotional peaks with subtlety, not melodrama. Conversational yet polished delivery. It's 11:47 at night. Your phone lights up for the third time. The same person who ignored you all week suddenly has a crisis. Within seconds, you're comforting them, calming them, carrying emotions that were never yours to hold. By midnight, they're relieved, and you're exhausted. If you're an empath, you've probably lived some version of that moment more times than you can count. But what if the people who drain you the most are not the people you think they are? And what if your greatest gift has been quietly used against you for years without you even realizing it? Because today, we're talking about 3 types of people empaths must never trust again. And the third one is often the hardest to recognize. If this channel has helped you understand yourself even a little better, please hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people find this content who need it. Empaths are often described as people who feel everything. They walk into a room and sense tension before anyone speaks. They notice shifts in tone, hidden sadness, and emotions others miss completely. But here's what most people misunderstand. The greatest threat to an empath is not sensitivity itself. The greatest threat is misplaced trust. Imagine a house with every window open during a storm. The problem isn't the windows. The problem is that there are no filters deciding what gets inside. Your sensitivity is not the weakness. Your lack of discernment can become the weakness. And once you understand the 3 types of people we're about to discuss, something remarkable happens. You stop confusing empathy with obligation. You stop performing emotional labor for people who would never do the same for you. And you begin protecting your nervous system with the same care you've always given everyone else. The first person empaths must learn to stop trusting is the professional victim. This is the person whose life is always collapsing, always burning, always falling apart. Every conversation circles back to their suffering. Every problem becomes an emergency. Every boundary becomes proof that you've abandoned them. At first, your heart breaks for them. Of course it does. You can feel their pain. But here's the twist. Feeling someone's pain does not automatically mean you are responsible for fixing it. The professional victim survives by creating an endless cycle of rescue. They rarely seek solutions. They seek emotional fuel. They seek someone willing to carry burdens they refuse to carry themselves. And what nobody tells you is that chronic helplessness can become a form of manipulation. Not always consciously, not always maliciously, but the result is the same. You become exhausted, drained, empty. Research on emotional contagion suggests that humans naturally absorb emotional states from those around them. Mirror neurons help us connect and empathize. But without boundaries, that same mechanism can leave sensitive people emotionally burned out. That is not compassion. That is overexposure. A healthy person wants support. An unhealthy person wants a permanent caretaker. And empaths often learn this lesson only after years of giving until something inside them collapses. The second chronic gaslighter. This person doesn't necessarily attack you directly. Instead, they attack your reality. You bring up something hurtful, they said. They tell you it never happened. You express discomfort. They tell you you're too sensitive. You notice a pattern. They tell you you're imagining things. Here's where it gets really interesting. Empaths are especially vulnerable to gaslighting because they naturally consider other perspectives. They are wired to question themselves. They want to be fair. They want to understand. And in healthy relationships, those qualities are beautiful. In toxic relationships, those same qualities become entry points for manipulation. Think of a compass placed beside a powerful magnet. The compass isn't broken. It's being distorted. That metaphor perfectly mirrors what happens psychologically during prolonged gaslighting. Over time, cognitive dissonance begins to form. Your mind struggles to reconcile what you experienced with what you're being told. The nervous system becomes confused. The prefrontal cortex works overtime, trying to solve contradictions that were intentionally created. This is where the real danger begins. Because eventually, you stop asking whether they're telling the truth. You start asking whether you can trust yourself. And that is the moment a person becomes emotionally vulnerable to deeper control. If someone repeatedly makes you doubt your own perceptions, your own memories, or your own emotional reality, pay attention. That is not misunderstanding. That is information. Information about who they are. The third type is the one many empaths struggle most to identify. Because this person doesn't look dangerous. In fact, they often look irresistible. They're charismatic, insightful, magnetic. They know exactly what to say. They make you feel uniquely seen, at least in the beginning. Here's a fun fact that genuinely blew my mind. Some of the most emotionally draining relationships don't begin with discomfort. They begin with intensity. The connection feels extraordinary, almost fated. But after enough time passes, you begin noticing something strange. The relationship only flows in one direction: your attention, your energy, your emotional labor, your forgiveness. You become the emotional power station keeping the entire relationship alive. Picture a star collapsing under its own gravity. From the outside, it looks brilliant. Inside, it is consuming itself. Many empaths experience relationships exactly like that. And here's where it gets fascinating. The charming energy vampire often studies people exceptionally well. They understand emotional needs. They understand wounds. They understand loneliness. But instead of nurturing those vulnerabilities, they exploit them. This pattern is frequently seen in relationships involving narcissistic traits. Not every difficult person is a narcissist. But narcissistic dynamics often involve cycles of idealization, devaluation, and emotional extraction. The empath keeps giving. The narcissist keeps taking. And the cycle continues until the empath finally reaches a painful realization. Love cannot survive inside a one-sided system, no matter how much empathy you pour into it. And here is the truth nobody tells you. The goal of healing is not becoming less sensitive. The goal is becoming more selective. Many empaths spend years trying to build armor. They try to stop feeling. They try to care less. They try to become harder. But that approach rarely works. Your sensitivity is part of your design. The real transformation happens when sensitivity meets discernment. When an empath learns boundaries, something extraordinary occurs. Their empathy becomes precise. Their kindness becomes intentional. Their generosity becomes protected. Their nervous system stops treating every cry for help as a personal responsibility. And suddenly, they are no longer available for manipulation. Not because they became cold, because they became clear. That is not selfishness. That is self-preservation. That is not coldness. That is sovereignty. So here is the truth nobody tells you. The people who were destroyed by manipulation are often the very people capable of becoming untouchable. Because every betrayal teaches discernment. Every shattered illusion teaches clarity. Every time you chose peace over chaos, your identity was quietly being forged into something stronger. The empath who finally trusts themselves is dangerous to every manipulator they once attracted. Not dangerous because they fight harder. Dangerous because they no longer volunteer their heart where it is not valued. The door that once stood wide open now has wisdom standing at the entrance. And wisdom knows exactly who belongs inside. So here's what I want to leave you with today. If you are an empath, your gift was never the ability to save everyone. Your gift is the ability to understand deeply without abandoning yourself in the process. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not difficult to love. You are someone learning the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. And that difference changes everything. If this message resonated with you, tell me in the comments. Which of these 3 types hit the hardest for you? I read every single one. And if someone in your life is exhausted from carrying everyone else's emotions, share this video with them. Sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is help another person remember that they deserve protection too.